Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. Got an interesting episode for you here, and we were doing some research yesterday, and I stumbled upon an interesting interview that I want to get into, that I want to discuss today. But before we get into that, we all know the drama that has been surrounding ESPN. First, you had the Rachel Nichols and Maria Taylor drama, which was a huge piece of drama that is going to be touched on a little bit in this audio here. We had the drama with Stephen A. Smith making some comments about Shohei Ohtani and also the Nigerian players that created a firestorm. We covered that as well. I gave my thoughts on that and where I stood with that one. And then right after that, we got the biggest bombshell, I believe, was when we found out Max Kellerman was no longer going to be the co-host on ESPN's First Take. But then I saw an interview with a former employee of ESPN, Dan Le Batard, right, who was a pretty big personality at the network. And he recently attended the Cari Champion show called Naked with Cari Champion. She has her own show. And for those of you guys who may be unaware, Cari Champion it was also a former employee at ESPN. She used to be the moderator on ESPN First Take, right? And I liked her a lot. I think she did a very good job. I think she had a great personality. She made solid points. And she had this nice energy and charisma about her. Anyway, as I was listening to this interaction between these two people here, they got to a point where they started to discuss their time working at ESPN. Before we go too far, what we want to do is we want to play a clip of them discussing what it was like to work at ESPN. So before we go too far, take a listen to that right here.
That's interesting that you say you left amicably, because I did not. I feel a way. You know what I mean? And I'm not mad, but I feel a way because I rang the bell. I alerted. I went to Jimmy and said, "You got a real problem here. There are people that you work for that are not in the business of taking care of people of color, especially women." This was in 2020, and he's like, "Well, and he just, kind of brushed it under the rug and said, I got a list. If you got a pen and paper here, I'll write down some names." And I said, "Jimmy, I'm not giving you any names. You know who I'm talking about." Now, with that being said, you left in a way that was respectable. I can't say that everybody had that same luxury, but you also earned it. But I think everybody earned it, Dan. When you walk away with all of your items, with all of your rights, and you go on, and of course you're not bitter, because look, you're getting paid more and doing what you want to do. But do you see the inequity that exists in that company?
I would say that what you just saw happen, and I'm sure you were looking at this very closely, with everything related to Rachel Nichols and Maria Taylor and the public mess that was, as Maria Taylor was someone who behind the scenes was doing the same kind of advocating that you were, and having and enduring some of the same kinds of frustrations that you felt, and was trying to find her voice and trying to be heard, and feeling like she was landing short of where she wanted to, and eventually leaves that company because of it. What Rachel Nichols was complaining about on that private audio that represented a sentiment that you shouldn't say in public, but she didn't say in public, and a sentiment that any of us with any ambition can understand the humanity in it. If you're saying, well, we're only allowed one space for a woman, and now we've got to choose because there can't be multiple spaces between Maria and Rachel, and then you get into real estate and ego and protection of turf and all that stuff. What I want, what can't be ignored because it's too obvious, and if you care about these things, it's something you can't unsee. Maria Taylor is no longer at ESPN. Rachel Nichols soon will no longer be at ESPN. But what Rachel Nichols was complaining about in the thing that got you to her, that is still at ESPN. She was complaining your crappy record on diversity is not going to be something that you fix on my watch. And now Malika Andrews takes over at 26 years old. And I wonder, and I imagine you wonder as a friend of Jamel Hill's, do you want black voices or do you want black faces?
They want black faces. They do not want black voices. That's clear, because it's too uncomfortable. I was told that this was before all of this was announced. Like, there were people calling me asking me, was I interested in coming back? But very clear about what I wouldn't be getting if I did come back. The same thing exists. And I was like, well, why would I want to do that? Thank you for, I don't know. Because the reality is what you just said is that they gave us a name, they gave us a platform, and that allowed us to, they validated us, and that allowed us to move on. So I will never take that for granted, and I will mention.
Now, after listening to that soundbite, a lot of things were said, right? If you listen to Cari Champion, she started off saying she didn't feel like she left on the best of terms, right? Because Dan Le Batard said he did, right? He felt like he was able to leave with his dignity. They basically allowed him to, leave with all of his things, so to speak. But apparently she didn't feel that way. And one of the things that was touched on between their exchange was that they had some issues at the network surrounding race. Now, and lack of female representation. Now, originally, what I thought the issue was with Rachel Nichols and Maria Taylor, and we're not going to play that clip. I thought Rachel Nichols was taking exception with the fact that they wanted to replace her. Remember, she was supposed to host the NBA Finals and all of these different things. They wanted to replace her, Maria Taylor, to fulfill a female quota as it pertains to race. I thought she was saying, okay, you're trying to hire her or give her my spot because you want to have another black woman there to fulfill some type of quota. Well, apparently, based on some of the things that was said here, it seems as if, after listening to Dan Le Batard and Cari Champion, it seems as if the issue was ESPN was basically saying that, listen, we don't have enough space for multiple women. So it's either going to be Maria Taylor or Rachel Nichols, but it can't be the two of you. And I think that was the thing that they were discussing that's the thing that they were talking about. In my opinion, that's what I was able to glean from those comments. There was another part during this exchange where they talked about they don't really want black voices. They just want black faces. And there's a part there that I didn't quite understand, and here's why. If that were the case, Stephen A. Smith would not be the face of the network. Last time we all checked, Stephen A. Smith is an African-American man. He's a black man, right? And he's the face of the network, which leads me to believe maybe the point she was trying to make was that maybe they don't want certain black faces that say certain things, because certainly Stephen A. Smith has the biggest microphone at that network. And maybe what she was saying was that the reason they give him so much free reign is because he disseminates a lot of the views that they want to be put out there, right? He's like their mouthpiece. He's the mouthpiece of the network to say whatever it is that ESPN wants, whatever messages they want to come across, right? But as we all know, Stephen A. Smith says a bunch of different things. Sometimes he puts his foot in his mouth, but he says a lot of things, right? So I don't know if those things that he says represents the true sentiments of that network. I don't know that, right? We recently did a video where I felt like Stephen A. Smith has this proclivity to always want to tear down people. And he will look for any moment to do it if he feels as if it's going to get ratings. We just did this with the Jalen Rose thing as it pertained to the Anthony Davis and Dwight Howard exchange, where I felt like, listen, man, you didn't have to go that far into it, but of course you wanted the ratings, so he didn't mind tearing down Dwight Howard in order to get those ratings. That's kind of been my issue with him. A lot of former NBA players have felt like, listen, Stephen A. Smith is his main job is to tear people down. And a lot of people feel like as if his main job is to tear black athletes down, right? A lot of people feel like that he's not as strong on white athletes as he is on black athletes. Now, I don't know if that's the message that ESPN wants to put out there, because she said they don't want black voices, just black faces. So that's the part I'm a little bit confused about. But overall, I thought it was interesting that Dan Le Batard basically gave us an insight as to what really took place there. That it turns out, in fact, at least with the Maria Taylor and Rachel Nichols situation, I think it had to do with probably gender. And maybe they felt as if they can't have too many female faces. And an interesting thing, subsequently after, that Rachel Nichols and Maria Taylor drama, if you looked on ESPN, you started to see a lot of female faces on TV, right? A lot of female faces showing up on TV. And I was wondering, at the time I was saying to myself, is it that they want to start, going after the female sports audience? But then over the last few weeks, I haven't been seeing these women. And I'm like, what happened to all of these women? There were so many women on the network. Where are they now? Right? Where are they now? How many prominent females can you think of on ESPN? You can think of Sage Steele, Malika Andrews. Who else? Right? So maybe that's what she was speaking to. And maybe she was saying, there needs to be more diversity. Maybe those were the things that she was talking about. But ultimately, what I want to do is bring this topic to your feet. And I want you guys to tell me, what were you able to understand between this exchange between Dan Le Batard and Cari Champion? For me, I just thought that they were able to peel back the curtains and kind of give us the real scoop on what really was happening behind the scenes at that network. And that's what I was able to that's what I was able to get from this. So what I want to know from you guys is, what do you think about their comments? What do you think about my comments? Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm, totally off with this? What are your thoughts? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, it's your Charles here from Dreamerspro. Wishing you guys an amazing day and catch you guys on the next episode.